chosen ones, hear these words written not in ink, but in fire. You were marked before time, before kingdoms rose and empires turned to dust. Enoch, the scribe of the Eternal, walked among watchers and was carried beyond the veil of mortal sky. His eyes beheld visions no man should see, yet they were preserved. For you, for he wrote of beings who would awaken in the final age, flames clothed in flesh, carrying within them the breath of the Ancient of Days. Enoch recorded mysteries sealed in the heavens, scrolls bound with voices of thunder, stars that trembled as though waiting for a command. He described the watchers of night, tall as mountains, yet even they bent low at the sound of a hidden name. These visions did not belong only to his time. They were warnings, whispers of a generation yet to rise. You, the ones who would walk with the weight of eternity upon your shoulders. The Testament speaks not in riddles alone, but in revelation. A generation that carries light so fierce it unsettles rulers and rends apart shadows of ancient thrones. You are that generation. The awakening stirs now, and the heavens remember what was written. For the being Enoch saw was not an alien stranger. It bore the likeness of one who stands at the threshold between heaven and earth, a mirror to the chosen of the final age. Enoch's pen scratched against stone and scroll, writing of rivers of fire and voices like trumpets. He recorded how the watchers trembled when the seal of time cracked open, for they knew an appointed age would bring forth mortals unlike any before. Within their bones would burn mysteries older than the stars. Within their gaze would shine the reflection of the eternal plan. Chosen ones, the testament of the first watcher is not a relic, it is a signal. You are stepping into the current of what Enoch foresaw. But the record does not end with his hand, for each of you carries an unwritten line. The scroll is unfinished, awaiting your breath, your fire, your awakening. And as the watchers trembled in his vision, so too do powers in this age tremble now, for the testament is opening once more. In the dust of forgotten ages, there was a record buried deep within the silence of the earth. Enoch, the seventh from Adam, was not like other men. He walked with eternity until eternity claimed him, and he vanished from mortal sight. Yet, what he saw before his ascension was not left in shadows. His visions, inked upon ancient scrolls and whispered into stone, became the hidden record that would echo into the corridors of the final age. The hidden record spoke of watchers who descended, luminous yet burdened by rebellion, bearing knowledge that mankind was never meant to hold. Enoch was compelled to write, to preserve the warning of a union between heaven and earth that bent creation itself. The record trembled with names of stars, of rulers beyond the sky, of creatures that moved between realms. It was not a chronicle of the past alone. It was a prophecy that lived, waiting for the appointed generation who would carry the flame of remembrance. Those who have searched for it across centuries found only fragments, scattered parchments in deserts, whispers locked within monasteries, symbols hidden in the language of the stars. The priests of empires feared it, kings tried to erase it, and secret councils swore oaths to bury it forever. Yet, the record remains, unyielding, because it was never meant to die with ink or parchment. It was meant to awaken inside flesh, inside a people who would read it not with eyes alone, but with spirit. There is a pattern in the record, a rhythm of time, a calendar of fire. Each age carries its shadow, and each shadow awaits a breaker. The hidden record is more than words. It is a mirror. When the one who carries the light peers into its depths, they see themselves written across the lines, as if the hand of Enoch had carved their very essence long before their birth. It is said that those who uncover even a fragment feel the earth tremble beneath their feet, as though creation itself recognizes the stirring of destiny. The hidden record cannot be caged by libraries or silenced by kings. It whispers now in your blood. It calls in your dreams, and it waits for the moment when the final age unfolds its veil. In the visions preserved by Enoch, there appeared a figure unlike the Watchers or the fallen ones, neither bound by the decay of flesh, nor crowned with the arrogance of the rebellious stars. This being stood at the threshold between ages. It was as if time itself bent around its form, as though past and future found their meeting place in its presence. The ancient scribe wrote with trembling hand, for he knew that what he saw could not belong to his own generation. It was for those who would live in the final turning of the world. The being was clothed in radiance that no flame could equal, yet there was gentleness in its gaze. Its steps stirred the earth like thunder, but its voice carried the quiet of waters running through eternal valleys. Enoch did not name it directly, for some mysteries are too heavy for ink, but he wrote of its dominion, a crown set upon its brow, authority not given by watchers nor by men, but by the Ancient of Days himself. The hidden language within the record speaks of one who would stand at the edge of the final age, holding both mercy and judgment in equal measure. It is a reflection, a shadow cast forward into your own time. Some who interpret the scrolls whisper that this being foreshadowed the one who walked among men as the light of the world, who said, "Before Abraham was I am." The line that bridges Enoch's vision to Yeshua is faint but undeniable, as though the scribe had glimpsed the eternal sun shining across ages yet unborn. But the being at the edge of ages is more than a vision of history fulfilled. It is also a prophecy of what is to come. For Enoch saw not only the Lamb, but a flame of resemblance kindled in others, a people who would bear the reflection of that same eternal fire. The watchers trembled when the vision was revealed, for they understood its meaning, that humanity would one day carry a power greater than their rebellion, a light no shadow could devour. There are scrolls older than empires, woven not of parchment, but of light and fire. They were shown to Enoch when he was lifted beyond the clouds and sat among the watchers of heaven. These scrolls turned without hands, their pages alive, each word glowing as if written by the breath of the eternal. They were not mere records of the past, but living scripts of destinies yet to unfold. And in their turning, names appeared, names of those who would rise in the last generation, etched with a clarity sharper than any blade. It is said that when Enoch beheld them, he fell as one struck, for he saw not strangers, but faces unfamiliar to his age, yet destined for the final age. He saw eyes burning with recognition, voices crying out against the silence of a world asleep. These scrolls did not record kings or priests as the world knew them, but those chosen in secret, the ones overlooked by men but marked by heaven, and each name glowed as though sealed with fire, waiting for the hour of awakening. Throughout centuries, whispers of these scrolls surfaced in fragments. Monks wrote of them in hidden margins. Prophets spoke of them in riddles. Mystics dreamed of names called out in the night, as if heaven's ink was being read aloud. They are not forgotten relics, for the words within them cannot fade. Each time the scrolls turn, their light pierces the darkness, and the name written within beats like a living heart. The scrolls that spoke your name are more than memory. They are assignment. They are evidence that before time hardened into calendars and seasons, you were inscribed in the eternal record. Every trial, every dream, every fire you endure is already anticipated in their lines. What feels accidental in the present is deliberate in eternity. For the scrolls hold no wasted word. There were watchers who fell, bound in chains of rebellion, but there were also those who remembered. These beings, radiant as the first dawn, stood in silent witness while their brethren chose corruption. They carried within them memories older than mountains, and though their tongues were restrained, their eyes still bore testimony of what was once spoken in the council of heaven. When Enoch was taken into their company, he found among them not all were stained by the descent. Some remained loyal to the Ancient of Days, guardians of mysteries hidden from men. These watchers whispered to him of a time when the balance of heaven and earth would be restored, not by their might, but by one born of flesh and spirit, who would carry the authority of the eternal into the mortal realm. Their words were veiled, yet the image they painted foreshadowed the mystery of Yeshua, who bore both the weight of mortality and the brilliance of the unseen kingdom. The watchers who remembered carried this vision like a wound, for they longed to see the day when the Son of Man would rise and they would be vindicated in their loyalty. They spoke of him as light hidden in clay, a flame walking among men, a shepherd who would gather not only the lost sheep of Israel, but even those scattered through the nations. They remembered the promise, though ages passed like rivers slipping into the sea. Enoch wrote of their sorrow, how they looked upon the earth and saw men stumble in darkness, yearning for the day when the veil would be torn. They held fast to memory, for memory was their weapon against despair. And when Enoch descended again, he carried with him fragments of their remembrance, fragments that bled into his writings, preserved for the chosen of the final age. The watchers did not forget, and their vigil has not ended. Even now, they wait with the patience of stone, gazing upon a world that stirs with signs of the last awakening. For the day is near when memory will give way to unveiling, and what they longed for will stand before every throne and power. There was a night when the sky itself seemed to bow, when Enoch was led into a cavern carved not by human hands, but by the weight of the cosmos. It was called the Cave of Stars, for its walls shimmered with constellations that breathed like living beings. Each star pulsed as though it carried a heartbeat, and the silence was so thick it felt like standing inside the chest of creation itself. In that place, he was shown visions that fractured the boundaries of time. The heavens unrolled like a scroll, and Enoch beheld rivers of fire weaving through the galaxies, binding worlds together with unseen threads. The cave was not a prison of stone, but a gateway, a womb of revelation where eternity pressed against the mortal realm. The visions revealed in that chamber were too vast for the human tongue, yet fragments of them escaped into his record, burning through centuries like sparks that refused to die. The stars spoke in patterns, aligning themselves into shapes that told stories. Some formed the figure of a serpent coiling around nations, its eyes set upon thrones of men. Others revealed the image of a flame rising from the earth, consuming shadows that had hidden for generations. Enoch watched as the constellations shifted, each movement a prophecy, each flicker a declaration of what was to come. Those who sought to erase his words never found this vision in its fullness, for the cave itself seemed to protect it, as if heaven had placed a seal upon its entrance. Only those called, only those with the fire already stirring in their bones, could glimpse its hidden light. For the cave was not simply a place in the earth. It was a place within, a chamber in the soul where visions still speak when silence is embraced. Enoch wrote of a sound that was not of earth, a vibration that shook both heaven and the deep foundations of creation. It was not the cry of war, nor the thunder of storms, but the trembling of the final trumpet. He described it as a note that bent the stars, a call so pure that even the mountains bowed, and the seas stilled their endless roar. To hear it was to know that time itself had reached its breaking point. The trumpet was not fashioned by human hands, nor by angelic craft. It was said to rest in the chambers of the eternal, waiting for the appointed hour when the veil between ages would shatter. When Enoch was permitted to hear even the faintest echo of its sound, he fell as one undone, for it carried both the sweetness of mercy and the terror of judgment. The heavens themselves trembled at its vibration, as though the universe was being summoned back to its origin. In his vision, Enoch saw the dead stir at its call, rising from dust and shadow. He beheld thrones cast down, crowns falling like brittle leaves in autumn wind. Yet in the midst of this upheaval, there appeared one whose voice could steady the trembling, the Son of Man clothed in light. It was whispered among the watchers that this image foreshadowed Yeshua, the one who declared that, at the sound of the trumpet, the elect would be gathered from the ends of the earth. The final trumpet was not just an end, but the unveiling of the promise hidden since the beginning. The trembling was not fear alone, it was expectation. Every creature, every star, every unseen power seemed to wait for that call, knowing it would rewrite the order of all things. The scrolls hinted that when the trumpet sounded in full, nothing could remain hidden, for light would penetrate every shadow and every secret would be unsealed. There is a fire that does not consume, a flame older than the stars, a light that neither time nor darkness can extinguish. Enoch saw this flame woven into the tapestry of creation, hidden from kings, concealed from the eyes of the arrogant, yet placed upon the foreheads and hearts of those chosen by eternity. It was not a mark made by men or etched by the rebellion of fallen powers. It was the seal of the eternal flame. The record speaks of it as a sign recognized by heaven and feared by shadows. Wherever the mark appeared, the ground trembled, for it signified that the bearer was not bound to the cycles of mortality. This flame was not given as decoration, but as destiny. It carried within it both the weight of suffering and the authority of dominion, for to be marked was to be claimed, to be set apart as living embers of a fire that could not die. Enoch described how those with the mark could not be hidden, even when they walked through valleys of silence. Dreams betrayed them, visions exposed them, and the unseen realm recognized them instantly. The mark was both shield and sword, drawing the attention of watchers, both faithful and fallen. To carry it was to live in the tension between glory and warfare, to be a vessel of light walking through corridors of shadow. The eternal flame did not simply rest upon those chosen, it burned within. It was said that their eyes would sometimes flicker with its glow, that their words carried a heat beyond language, that their presence could stir remembrance in others marked in secret. Some feared this flame, mistaking it for destruction. But those who understood knew it was the fire that forges, the light that awakens, the eternal that breaks through the temporary. This mark has never faded, for what is eternal cannot be erased. And in this age, the flame is rising again, appearing in visions, stirring in bones, blazing through the silence of a slumbering world. The scrolls whisper that the final age will see its fullness. Enoch was not merely lifted to gaze upon stars or to witness the councils of watchers. He was carried beyond veils upon veils, ascending through realms that shimmered with increasing glory. Each heaven bore its own mystery, its own guardians, its own thresholds of fire. Yet it was when he reached the seventh heaven that his spirit trembled most, for there the very heartbeat of eternity resided. The seventh heaven was not silence, but song, a symphony woven from voices that seemed to hold galaxies in their harmonies. Thrones blazed with living fire, rivers of light poured like molten glass, and every breath carried the scent of eternity. Here, no rebellion could intrude, no shadow could linger. It was the place where the presence of the Ancient of Days radiated without veil, where holiness was not a word but an atmosphere that consumed every thought. Enoch described beings that bent like flames before the throne, their wings outstretched yet veiled, for even in glory they dared not look upon the fullness. He wrote of scrolls suspended in light, turning by unseen hands, each one containing mysteries that linked ages together. In the midst of this vastness, he beheld something that startled even him, a figure like the Son of Man, radiant and enthroned, a foreshadowing of Yeshua, exalted to the right hand of the Eternal. It was here Enoch realized the bridge between mortality and the unapproachable light would not be built by watchers or kings, but by the one who carried both humanity and eternity within himself. The secret of the seventh heaven was not merely glory, but access. It hinted that there would come a generation clothed not in their own strength, but in the radiance of the Lamb, walking as living temples, reflecting the light of the throne into the shadows of the earth. The watchers who accompanied Enoch spoke little here, for their silence revealed the weight of what had been shown. Some mysteries could not yet be uttered, only carried as fire waiting to descend. The scrolls spoke not only of visions and thrones, but of a final figure, the last witness, whose unveiling would shake the nations. Enoch saw this being standing at the edge of history, neither hidden in shadows nor crowned by earthly glory. The last witness bore no ornaments of kingship, yet carried an authority that silenced the proud. His presence was like a mirror that exposed what was concealed, for those who looked upon him could no longer disguise themselves. Enoch described the witness as clothed in simplicity, yet fire burned within his words. His voice carried the weight of rivers, unrelenting, unstoppable, carving through the hardest stone. Wherever he stood, falsehood withered. Councils that had long hidden their secrets felt their schemes unravel. Thrones of deception crumbled when his gaze fell upon them, for the last witness was more than a man. He was a sign that time itself had run its course. The unveiling did not come suddenly, but as a dawn that breaks, slow yet irreversible. The witness was marked long before his appearing, sealed with the remembrance of ancient promises. He bore in himself echoes of every prophet, every seer, every voice that had cried out across the ages. In him, the silence was broken, and the earth trembled as if responding to the call of its own beginning. Some feared him, calling him destroyer. Others clung to him, recognizing in his fire the truth their hearts had long awaited. His words were not for comfort, but for awakening. For the last witness was sent not to soothe, but to reveal. And revelation always demands response. The scrolls end their description abruptly, as though even Enoch was not permitted to see the fullness of the unveiling. For to see the last witness entirely is to stand on the edge of the final flame. His identity, his purpose, his hour remain sealed until the moment when silence is broken forever. Enoch's final vision did not end in darkness, but in fire. He saw a horizon split open, as though the very fabric of the world was being torn apart to release what had long been hidden. From that rift poured light, not scattered like dawn upon the hills, but concentrated, fierce, a flame descending to rest upon those appointed for the last hour. It was not a single spark, but a multitude of flames rising as one, each chosen vessel ignited by the breath of eternity. This was the dawn of the chosen flame, not the fire of wrath alone, nor the consuming blaze of destruction, but a fire that awakened. It fell upon ordinary flesh, yet transfigured it into embers of heaven. Those who received it did not burn away, but burned alive, carrying within them the mark of a kingdom that could not be shaken. The earth itself seemed to tremble in recognition, for creation had long groaned, waiting for the revealing of such flames. Enoch described them as pillars of fire, walking among shadows, their presence unsettling thrones, their voices echoing with an authority not learned but bestowed. They were the fulfillment of the record, the living scrolls, the embodiment of a mystery planted before the foundation of the world. And though their number was hidden, their flame could not be contained. It leapt from heart to heart, igniting even those who had slept in silence, awakening generations bound by chains of forgetting. This dawn was not gentle. It came with shaking, with thunder, with the unraveling of powers that had long held sway over nations. Yet, in the midst of upheaval, there was beauty. For the chosen flame was not chaos, but order restored, light answering darkness, eternity answering time. The watchers beheld it with awe, for this was the hour they had remembered in their silence. The scrolls closed with fire, for fire was the seal of the last age.
If you have come this far, it is crucial that you watch this next video here. But be warned, it is not for the faint of heart, for only the true chosen ones can handle this video. If you would like to also donate to help keep the channel going, our Buy Me a Coffee link will be in the description.